Hello there, welcome back to part 4 of this OACS series on leadership development. I hope you've already gone through the first 3 parts and found that of interest, and I'm sure at the end of this part you will have quite a few takeaways, and I'm sure you'll be keen to implement them, and I look forward to your feedback and questions if you have any in the process of implementation. I'm there to handhold and support you through the process. Have a great time. Thank you. So, the fifth aspect of this model is about the organizational design. Now, we're going to do very different things. That one of the aspects is that the CHROs and the HR leaders have to work very closely. All of this is not a model that's going to be owned and driven by HR. It has to be by the CEO and other CXOs, and this is something that has to be owned by every leader in the organization, and because all of them need to be engaged into this particular framework of the model that we are suggesting here. So in terms of the organizational design, the CHRO and HR leader has got to play a very critical role, because what we are saying is that this is really going to impact the financial performance of the organization. So this is something that has to be very close to the heart of the CEO, and only then it's going to have a sustainable acceptance. Otherwise it's going to fizzle out. All such initiatives have to be owned by the CEOs and not just the HR. It would be very absurd if the CEO say, "What happened to your initiative?" If you ask the HR guy and ridicule him, because he can do. He's not in real terms on the ground a very strategic partner unless the CEO takes him into his lap and makes him become a partner in this strategic kind of these kind of strategic interventions. So this is the CEO's baby, but the HR is going to nurse as much as every other leader. Only then it's going to be success. So in terms of design of the organization for this particular model and framework, the CHRO has to support the CEO actively, and it has to be on top of the agenda of the CEO. Now, besides this, what organizations have to ensure is that they have the best of the talent in every work group, and wherever employees are falling short in terms of skill, they'll have to be put intensively under some performance improvement programs kind of thing, but have the best talent in their workforce, because this is a business organization. All the ideology is fine, but all the ideology and the framework and all of this model will work only if you have very competent people in the teams. So have the competent talent come in, which means your talent acquisition process has to be very robust and foolproof, and whenever there have been any misses, they've got to be critically reviewed and analyzed, and if there are some loopholes that have to be plugged in. So have the best talent in your team, notwithstanding the compensation. Well, the market economy is going to guide this. So go by that, the benchmarks that are prevailing in the market, but have the best talent. Now, when you have these teams formed, do remember to have them homogeneously skilled groups. They have to be very homogeneously skilled. Because if all the members, as far as possible, are within a small range of competency, it becomes easy for the leaders to build and carry on with the momentum and get the best results. If you have a mix of skill level in your team, you're going to have productivity issues and quality issues and all of that. So in the organizational design, is there something else that we're going to do? Is not much, but have a capability building engine, because capability building, whether it's process capability or whether it is people capability, this progressive and incremental development has to be an ongoing process. So if you need some capability centers to share the expertise and continuously ensure that there's a progression in the delivery capability, it's fine. And similarly, you can have innovation centers if you're an innovation driven organization, then have innovation centers as well, because ultimately we are talking about maximizing shareholder value, and this can happen only if you have a competitive edge for your enterprise at the marketplace. The last and the sixth aspect of this model is about stimulation or infusing motivation into the workforce. And of course, for that, the fundamental thing, as we already talked about earlier, it's giving them an exemplary experience at the workplace, in terms not just about during their physical presence at the workplace, but also in terms of other HR practices and the culture and everything put together, leadership and culture and the policies and the growth opportunities, learning and development opportunities, all of that together. Okay, so that's essential. And one other thing is that, of course, this comes under the engagement levers as well, the Q12 and elsewhere, which I'm not going to cover so much because that's now globally known now. One other thing is that here in this model, we are talking about strength-based organization. I've already told that we get the best of the talent and have them in homogeneous work groups. So we're going to get a strength-based organization here. All right. So how is that going to happen? Is that identify people by way of the strengths that they have. Get that strength-o-meter, whatever assessments that you can make, and redesign the roles and the organizational design as well to make it in such a way that people are working in areas that they're best at. So that's when everything is going to sum up, and you're going to, this is how you're going to get 1 + 1 is equal to more than 2. It could be 3, 2.5, 4, whatever. But this can happen only if that, making people work at a discretionary level happens because, when they're passionate about it, they love the leaders, they love the culture, they love the experience that they're having here, they love the policies about, and they're very futuristic, which are going to align with their expectations and the careers that they could be offered. So what we are talking about here is giving everyone a strength-based role that they would love doing, and redesign the organization, build a strength-based organization, and that's how this model is really going to come up with some great outcomes, because these are some of the, they need to have a say. They should be open, and it should be in the culture that they could come and confront with anything, any wrong practice, or if they believe that something else could be a better alternative. So so employee involvement is a key key aspect of, once somebody is given that platform to speak out, he feels that he's into it, he's a contributor, and he's very much a partner in the whole process. The other aspect is about challenging everybody. Now that you've got the best people in place, they're well motivated, it's time to challenge, because people love challenges, people love to be challenged. So give them stretch goals, and if they want to stretch even beyond what you wish them to do, that's always welcome. But give that stretch element everywhere. After all, we are doing so much, so meticulously. The model says that you got to do all of these things quite meticulously, then you'll also get that much of yield. So that would come by assigning stretch goals. Well, if people get stretch goals and if they deliver on that, the smart rewards should follow, smart rewards and recognition programs, because all of these are going to be stimulants for performance. Okay, you want people to do a great job even during a pandemic. but then the rewards that you give, you do some arithmetic and give them a small fraction, meaningless, not making any sense, and perhaps humiliating, then it's going to be quite counterproductive. So have a big heart about it. Look at the big picture, because if you are actually taking the organization, you and the rest of the workforce is taking the organization towards your mission accomplishment. And if people have contributed substantially, and then they need to be rewarded in a commensurate manner. So don't get frugal there. Recognition. So have that broad heart to recognize people. And wherever needed, people are crossing the line, or in terms of the behaviors or the performance or whatever, counsel them, mentor them, and give them support, reinforce learnings and practice to see that they catch up with the rest of the team. Is in this model, I would recommend that while some auxiliary or very essential competencies, and if there are gaps found in assessments, they have to be reinforced by way of learning and development initiatives. But the whole focus, I would recommend under this model, is to shift to a spike-based L&D model, because what I want is that organizations to get maximum return, more bang for the buck they spend on learning and development. And that could happen if all the trainings are more strength-based or the spike-based, because everybody's profile, though it would, on the paper, theoretically, they were supposed to have a set of competencies, but by God's creation and the way they've evolved, they end up for the kind of for the kind of make they are of, they will have spikes in certain areas and not so much on the others. So there's no point in focusing on the opportunities for improvement, because as I always say, that weakness, you can only neutralize a weakness, you can convert definitely as a strength. But strength, you could build on the strengths and make it mighty. And have this culture of a learning organization, and where you have the team leaders and team members, all of them coach whoever needs any learning reinforcements. It has to be a very continual process. I would prefer that organizations spend more on shop floor coaching and on-the-job coaching, rather than having a lot of days in training, unless they are essential. So the last 2 points that I'm talking about is switching over to strength-based learning and development, and continual coaching and development practice. With this, we come to the end of this particular model. The various aspects of this model we have seen. So let us visit the model once again for a quick recap. So if you see the model here, which is called the Organizational Synergistic Ecosystem, because it really builds in an ecosystem, and if you see centrally, all the 6 key elements actually create a delta or a synergy to actually make that impact, strategically through this model, and really enhance the performance and the value of human capital in an organization. And you will see those 6 very strategic and key elements that are really going to make an impact and create the synergy or the ecosystem or the delta I was telling you. And they are, the first piece is the apex level alignment that comes from the aspiration of the business leaders or promoters or owners, shareholders. And then the ideology and the ideological framework, towards customer, towards shareholder, towards stakeholder, and every other stakeholder. and the core values of the business, from where we're going to draw out the behavioral frameworks and all of that. And the second piece is about the business strategy, because business strategy is not very alienated. It's very integral, because that's the framework under which the human capital needs to operate and maximize the stakeholder value. The third element is the leadership, which, as you know, when you're talking about people, leadership is very critical. So is culture. So we have this fourth piece, which is the cultural excellence. And then we have the organizational design, how the design is going to help and aid in bringing about this delta. And finally, to calibrate and accelerate performance through stimulation or motivation of the human capital. What are all those stimulants or stimulators or motivators? So all of these together, they're so well aligned here, and that's how we get the synergy. In most organizations, we would have perhaps had, some work towards, a little work towards leadership, something about culture, something about engagement. But unless all of this is holistically dealt with, and, unless they are all wired and as an integrated manner, we really can't derive the delta or the synergy or the ecosystem. So this is how this model is built upon.